Hey everyone, Presico here. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about a project that I think is really under the radar and deserves a lot more attention. And I think it's got a lot going for it, especially with the bull run coming and tons of potential. So as you can see, the project is Covalent, CQT. So I'm not going to bore you and go too much into detail about exactly what it does. I'll give you guys a brief overview. And I know probably what you want to see is the potential it has and what gives it the potential. So I'm going to be talking more about comparisons with other projects, why I'm specifically bullish on it and why I think it has all this potential. So let's start off with just a brief overview of what is Covalent. So it uses big data tech to extract meaningful insights, providing actionable data for investors and efficient resource allocation for developers. And unlike traditional methods, Covalent aggregates data from various sources, which offers a comprehensive API for personalized user data. And in the next phase, Covalent plans progressive decentralization, allowing users to own and operate the network. And their native token, which is CQT, serves as a governance token for voting, and it's a staking asset for validators and a network access token for data queries. So why is Covalent so relevant? So as you know, crypto is just pumping and going crazy. And as this happens, there's going to be more and more layer 1 and layer 2 blockchains, and hopefully more and more users. Well, naturally that would come with that. And this means more transactions, which means more data, which means Covalent is going to be more and more relevant. So let's have a look at the Covalent chart and price and so on. So we can see here it's seen a little bit of action in the past year, but to be honest, it's not up a great deal from the bottom. It's about 3x or not even. And if we have a look at the all-time graph, you can see what it was at back in 2021, almost at 10x the current price, or approximately that. So you can see the potential is there in terms of price, and it is decently bottomed. The market cap is quite high at 120 million, but if you do compare it to some of its main competitors, it is actually low in comparison. So obviously keep in mind to do your own due diligence in terms of what entry you want to take. I'm not telling you to buy at this price. I do think maybe crypto might have some sort of a pullback soon, since it's been so crazy. Maybe it doesn't, but in the case it does, I would recommend adding this to your list. And that's what I actually do. I keep a list of tokens I really like, and I make a note. If there's a market dip, look at them, see if it dipped in price, and maybe scoop some up. So keep that in mind. If we have a look at the markets it's available on, KuCoin, Kraken, SushiSwap, Uniswap, but you can see here the majority of the volume is actually on OKX and KuCoin. And I prefer actually using KuCoin or Uniswap if there's enough liquidity. But anyways, let's have a look at some of their backers, and that's always important to check out. And Covalent actually has some very big names that are backing it in terms of their investors. So you can see they raised 5.1 million. In terms of their tier 1 investors, Coinbase Ventures, Binance Labs, Delphi Digital, which are really huge names. Tier 2, Hashed Fund, Mechanism Capital, Morningstar Ventures. So it's all really huge names. Even their tier 3 investors are huge names. Neo Foundation, Alrond, CoinGecko, AU21. I mean, all these names are really big. Tier 4 even is also big. So other is obviously CAC, but obviously back then things were different. But it's really impressive and solid investors. So that's obviously very good to see. Also to note, they had their IDO back in 2021, as you can see, on 30th of April on CoinList, where they raised 2.1 million. And it's actually down still from the IDO price, which was 25 cents, and now sitting at 20 cents approximately. So that's also something to consider, that it's still down from that. So it could mean the entry is still quite decent for that. So you see the funding rounds and backers, which, as I said, are really big. So now let's have a look at some of the comparisons to competitors and where Covalent really shines, in my opinion. So as you can see, this post by Simon, he says, Covalent is now indexing more than 200 chains out there, making it the one-stop data shop for devs. And the biggest competitor, which is Graph Protocol, only indexes around 40 chains. And the valuation of Graph is 1.5 billion, whereas Covalent is only around 200 million. So there you can really see the potential that Covalent has. Also, there's plenty of other solutions, for example, like BitQuery, Etherscan, Miralis Web3, and BlockVision HQ. But these are centralized and they're non-tokenized. And there are only two notable players when it comes to decentralized indexing solutions, which is the Graph and Covalent. And as I said, Graph is at 1.5 billion and Covalent's just around 200 million. So that's around a tenth of it. And they even index more chains than the Graph. So that's obviously something that's got going for it. And if we have a look at Covalent's adoption, they already have more than 1,000 applications building on top of its data infrastructure with some top tier names like Consensus and Fidelity. I'm sure most of you have heard of them. And what's really huge is the API revenue alone for Covalent is at around $500,000 annual revenue, whereas the Graph is generating under 100,000 annual recurring revenue. So that is something really big that's to consider. Also, something we have to think about is what's still going to be coming for Covalent in the future. And obviously they have the crazy revenue growth, which is really pro. And they're going to have some more developments ahead for CQT token holders. So they have a decentralization goal within the next 12 months because they're not currently fully decentralized. And with full decentralization, node operators would have to lock substantial amounts of CQT tokens, and this will enable them to handle network and data processing. So this is obviously positive for the price. Then in terms of fee sharing, they're also planning to implement a fee switch where they're going to share a portion of the revenue with token holders. So that's also really pro. They're also going to have buybacks where revenue will be used for buybacks. And keep in mind their revenue is really big. Then they have Class C and API endpoints to allow users to create API endpoints, which will generate revenue through CQT staking, which will further decrease the token supply. Obviously, that's also bullish. And then they're also going to have flagship applications where they're going to build these applications like block explorers and analytic platforms to showcase the data infrastructure, which will also generate additional revenue. Then they also have a Ethereum Wayback Machine, which will address long-term data availability issues in the EVM space, contributing to the efficiency of the entire ecosystem alongside projects like Celestia, Agent Layer, and Filecoin, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. So these are my points to cover when looking at Covalent and why I'm bullish on it in the future, especially if the market continues to be bullish. I can see it keeping on growing. If we have a look at the all-time chart, like I showed you earlier, the potential is definitely there. So really exciting project. Keep an eye out for dips if they are. Obviously do your own research as well, but hopefully this video helped you guys learn a bit more about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.